Hello, everyone. It's Future Proof Mentorship Initiative here again, and my name is Emeka Christian. So, if you are already in the chat box, can you tell us where you are watching from, your name, where you're watching from, and your expectation from this session today? And as you already know, each time we come around like this for our monthly contacts, you should always expect a lot of value. And we have come back again this month of May with another set of value, this time around in the area of the law. Because there has been so much going on around in the world, or in the world of social media. We have people who said they were cheated out of their rights and all of that. So that is why the team at Future Proof Mentorship Initiative sat back to say, what can we do in response to some of these, concerns that many young persons have today in the world. So that is why we have come today with an amazing package for you this month of May. So in case you are watching live or you're going to watch later, so you are in for a good ride of value this morning. So what you're going to help us do right now to get many persons into the room is to take the link that brought you here, take the link of the YouTube, the Facebook page, or the LinkedIn handle you're watching from, and share across to any young person who's going to need this video. As a matter of fact, many Nigerian and African young persons and any young person in the world needs the information that we're going to be sharing here today. So while you're on this call, don't be selfish. Be your brother's keeper. Take this information and share it with any person who you know needs to be here today. Because the person we have on the call knows our onions. When I say it with a sense of pride. Because I know, barrister, she's going to answer a lot of basic questions that are in our minds about the matter of law and how we should act, our rights and privileges, and the legal moves we have to make in our country, Nigeria. So before further ado, before I invite Barrister Amaka onto the stage, I would like to do a bit of introduction to who we are at Future Proof Mentorship Initiative, and of course introduce us to Barrister Amaka Obineze. Then she will not have the floor. So this is who we are. We are Future Proof Mentorship Initiative, and we have been out here since 2022. Now, Future Proof Mentorship Initiative started as a result of a felt need. We felt, oh, there is need to democratize information and opportunity among our contemporaries everywhere in Nigeria. I mean, some of our young persons, our fellow young persons who we have access to. So say, look, information is not reaching everybody equally. How do we, in our own little way, contribute to sharing knowledge, sharing information at scale? And that was the burden behind Future Proof Mentorship Initiative. And we've been on this since 2022. And thus far, we've had some reasonable impact across communities and, spaces where young persons are mostly. And our vision is simply to raise a generation of future-ready young leaders who are equipped with the skills, with the mindset, with the skills, and the networks to thrive in a rapidly changing world. The world is changing, therefore there should be need for upskilling, and which is part of what we're doing here today. The law says, and connect young people with experienced mentors. Because if you also notice, some of the persons we bring on the call are thought leaders in their own right. And this is our own way of exposing young persons to people who can become their mentors. And we connect young persons to experienced mentors, practical resources, growth opportunities through structured programs that build confidence, competence, and character. For those of us who have been following us on our YouTube page for a while now, you also remember that some time ago we did a program on stock investing. And I'm pleased to announce to you that many young persons who took action on what they learned in that our thought point are already practicing it and they're having results. It's always our expectation that anytime people come on our course, on our webinars like this, they're able to take away practical values that they can apply in their lives and see the results that they want. So what we do basically is that we have virtual workshops, we have physical workshops, we have school outreaches to engage secondary school students and sometimes university students. We also have a bit of leadership trainings, in campuses and all of that. And we also build community because we understand that wealth or anything worthwhile is built in a community. So our problem in Africa is that for a long time we have built in silos. And when you build in silo, you are like a tree trying to make a forest. So what we thought to do as Future Proof Mentorship Initiative is that we put our skills, our energy together as young people into a group where we're able to share opportunity, share ideas, and share knowledge as the one we are doing today. So basically, we're out here empowering our fellow Nigerian youths to lead themselves and to lead others with purpose. And yeah, we believe at Future Proof Mentorship Initiative that one is too insignificant to achieve significant success. One person is too insignificant to achieve significant success. So we work as a team of 6 vibrant young people who are passionate about youth development and societal growth. And here we are. These are the team that makes up the team. These are the individuals who make up the team at Future Proof Mentorship Initiative. So we're all working behind the scene. You don't always get to see them, at the front end. They're always at the back end doing stuff and making things go well. And yeah, we have our social media handles. You can always connect with us on YouTube, with us at Future Proof Mentorship Initiative. You can also connect with us on LinkedIn, on Facebook. We are open to collaborations and the likes. Right. Thank you very much. So right about now, I want to bring Barrister Amaka Obineze upstage. But before then, let me just tell us a little bit. Let me tell us a little bit about Barrister Amaka. So I'm going to pull up her citation right now. Just give me a moment. Let me pull up Barrister Amaka's citation. So Barrister Amaka is somebody who knows her onions, but let us read for ourselves. So I'm trying to pull up her citation right now. But meanwhile, if you are watching the call on any of the platforms, do well to engage in the comments. And even if you're going to be watching later, so please do well to ask your questions in the comments. I would always ensure that it gets to Barrister Chiamaka Obineze. So I'm trying to pull up her citation. A moment, please, because my network is a bit, you know. All right. So here we have on the screen Obineze. She is a high achieving legal professional with a distinguished track record in dispute resolution, legal research, and intellectual property. She obtained her Bachelor of Laws degree from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and further at the Nigerian Law School, Lagos campus. Her litigation background includes appearance before various court hierarchies, including the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Being an avid scholar, she has obtained certification from international organizations, including the World Intellectual Property Organization and the World Bank Group. Chiamaka is recognized for her resourcefulness, ethical leadership, and ability to navigate complex challenges with a high degree of flexibility. Ladies and gentlemen, whether you're watching now or in the future, please do well to give some accolades to Barrister Amaka in the comment, because man, it's not easy at all. Barrister Amaka, you're welcome. And let me say on a lighter note that this is a full cycle moment, because many years ago, I knew Barrister Amaka, and she always has this dream to be, to be a legal professional with a difference. And I'm glad today that that dream is a reality, and we are now living that dream. And beyond that, she's now impacting society, and of course, it's going to impact us today with that dream that has become a reality. So right now, I make welcome Barrister Amaka Obineze to the stage. You're welcome, Barrister Amaka. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Emeka Umunakwe. Thank you all for having me. My name is, as introduced by our team lead, is Chiamaka Ijoma Obineze. And thank you for introducing me, Emeka. It's a pleasure to be invited to this forum. I've gone through your vision and mission as it was being presented, and it's a wonderful thing that you're doing. and we appreciate the impact that you are giving to the society. And I'm sure that a lot of people have a lot to learn and develop a lot of skills from a platform such as this. So the topic that we are taking today is one that is very, very crucial to this society, being that a lot of young people are venturing into businesses, having interactions with the social media, and all these platforms have laws guarding them. And most young people do not know their rights, especially as it has to do with the social media businesses. And it's something that we need to educate people on, because as we all know, we have a Latin maxim that says ignorantia juris non excusat, and it means ignorance of the law is not an excuse. So once you breach or infringe on any law, you cannot plead excuse or as ignorance. You cannot say you are ignorant of the law, you did not know, I'm not aware. You cannot say that that's your excuse. So that's the importance of knowing the law, and knowing the terrain that you're stepping on, so that you know what rights you have and when those rights are being infringed upon, and what legal backing that you can use to make your business, your career better. So today, the law, as I used to tell people, is not streamlined to a particular thing. You cannot really say this is the law and then that's it. The law is vast. It's a lot. You cannot finish it. I was discussing with my husband and I was telling him that most people just know about the Constitution. And then the first thing that comes to their mind is it in the Constitution? Or the law of Nigeria, specifically Nigeria, is not just limited to the Constitution. The Constitution is the ground law, that is the supreme law of the land. But for every specific subject matter, we call it substantive law, for every specific subject matter, there is a law. There is a law that protects your intellectual property. There is a law that protects your land. There is a law that protects your consumer protection, what you consume. There is a law that protects your employment. There is labor law. There is the law that there is industrial law. So the law is vast. There is a law that protects children. There is a law that protects women. There is a law that, so when you're talking about the law, you have a lot of things to, they are wide, it's vast. There's a law that protects company, and then there's a law that protects businesses, banks. We have the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act. That's the BOFIA. So it's fast. It's a lot. So when we talk about ignorance of the law is not an excuse, we have an issue now where there are a lot of laws. There are a lot of laws, and now they are telling you that ignorance of these laws that are vast is not even an excuse for you. You cannot say that you don't know any law, you don't know the law about cyber crime. So you now go on social media and you do something against somebody's rights, or you commit cyber stalking, and then you say you're ignorant, so you cannot be. So this vast number of laws that we have, especially in Nigeria, is when you infringe upon it, it's not an excuse for you to say, I don't know the law. So this is why this topic is important. I may not be able to cover everything that the law says, especially as it has to do with the young person, but it's nice to at least prompt you to become aware that there are some laws that exist that you might not know that you are infringing. So it's to open up your mind to what is out there, why you need a lawyer, why for every step that you are taking, you need a lawyer, you need guidance, you need legal guidance. Now, first of all, I think I will go from businesses, and then I will now go into social media. I think specifically because if I don't streamline it, we might not go to there. There's just a lot to cover, especially as it has to do with the law. Now, the first I have to do now is I will talk about businesses. Now, business registration in Nigeria is covered, is governed by the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2020. And for you to actually run businesses legally in Nigeria, you can run any business. Anybody can open any shop and do business. But for your business to be protected, it has to be registered. Now, when we talk about protected, we are talking about protected in the instance of name, so that your name will not be used by another name, another person. And protected in the instance of someone cannot impersonate your brand. So let's say, for instance, now this platform that we are working with now, if you are not registered, another person can work with this name and use it and promote something else that it's not you, that it might be something illegal and it might not be you. So this is what business registration actually protects you from. So how do you do business registration? Now, we have the registration of businesses, and then we have registration of companies. Now, then we also have those that are not for profit. That's when we have the incorporated trustees, and which this platform now can fall as an incorporated trustee if you're not doing business and then you're not looking to make profits. You're looking towards the welfare of the society, impacting knowledge, culture, all that. So those are things that are covered under incorporated trustees. And then, so let's go to businesses. A lot of young people are going into businesses now, and then they do not know what they are supposed to do to protect their businesses. The first thing, if you do not want to form a company, you can register a business name. Let's take, for instance, now you have a printing press, or you have this business where you're selling clothes online, and then it gives you this legal backing. It makes people trust you more and know that, okay, what you're doing is actually legit, if I can use that word. So if you don't want to form a company, because company has to do with, you have shareholders, people that own shares and all. So if you just want to protect your business, you have to register as business name. So business name registration is it's not as tedious as a company registration. It's just something that protects your name, the name of your business, from being used and being impersonated. So business name registration, I do that. If you need anybody that needs to protect the person's business, you can meet Mr. Emeka. He can contact me, and for a reasonable fee, we'll be able to do the business registration. Now we have company registration. So we know a company is a company that has shares and then does businesses. And wonderfully, before with the former Company and Allied Matters Act, a company has to be 2 or more people. But in this case, a company can be just one person. One person can form a company. You can own all the shares in the company. And then we have the limited liability company and the unlimited liability company. So that's the importance of a company. Now, why a business name? Your legal liability, your liability is tied to you personally. Let's say, for instance, the business is you, you are the business. That's your business name. But for a company, your identity is separate from the company. So once the business of the company is being done, and then there's an infringement against somebody, maybe the person has a contract with your company to supply so goods to your company, and then there's a breach of contract, the legal liability is tied to the company. because the company has a separate legal identity, or it's a separate legal entity from the business owner, but the business name is tied to you. So that's why people go for it. I advise people to go for a company because you have limited liability. That's what we mean by limited liability. Your liability, that's the liability means your trying to look for the word to simplify liability, like the debts. That's the simple term I can use. What you owe or what you're going to pay for such infringement is tied to just the company, the shares that you have in the company. So it doesn't come to you personally. So that's the importance of registering a company and not registering a business name. But the business name is just to prove, if you have like a small business that you're running and you have not gone full to a company standard, you can do a business name registration. So I am also some I do all that. Now another important thing that you have to know as a young person, especially as it has to do with business, is everything has to be in writing. Every single thing has to be in writing. Now the wonderful thing about we Africans is that we tend to trust. We have this spirit of brotherhood. No, this person cannot do me something wrong. Okay, yeah, I did not talk about partnership. Partnership is also another thing that you can register. You can do a partnership too. So, yeah, so you and somebody can just decide to put funds together, but that one also ties you. You are personally liable to whatever you bring to that business. So I was talking about trust in Africans. So Africans tend to trust. We have this spirit of brotherhood. My brother cannot do this to me. I am forming this business with my brother. We understand ourselves, so nothing can go wrong. But we fail to understand that even twins can disagree with themselves, and the disagreement can go to the courtroom. And then they ask you, what proof do you have for this business? And you don't have any proof, and you are on a loss. So this is why I tell people everything has to be in writing. And the thing is that even we lawyers, we make such mistake. So we feel like we can just shake hands and then, okay, your word is your bond. But it's not always the truth. People don't really keep to their words. And people, I don't know, I tend to say sometimes people don't have retentive memory. So it's not going to be I say, he say, them said, and you are not able to prove anything. I had such issue before. I remember when I was working before, I negotiated remuneration, and it was oral. I said, okay, so at so time, if I work for so amounts of months, I'm getting so increase, and that's the word. And then I took it. Okay, your word is your bond, and I took it. And after the amount of time, the person denied me. He said, "No, I did not say that. It's not possible that I said that." And I was just looking at myself. I said, "Chiamaka, you're supposed to have known that everything has to be in writing. If this person, even if you don't have a physical document, let it be by email. Let it be by it. Communicate everything by especially when it has to do with your business transactions. I know WhatsApp, yes, WhatsApp can be an evidence, but there's this formal thing that email brings to businesses. When you make communications through email, okay, spell everything out specifically and then send it, communicate in writing. It spells everything out. So make sure everything is communicated in writing. For every business transaction you're going to make, have a contract. Yes, have a contract. It is very important. If you're going to employ somebody to maybe you not employment, you're contracting somebody to supply you goods, have a contract of service. If you're employing somebody, have a contract of employment. If you are getting a contract, like make sure if you're buying a property, have a contract of sale or a deed of assignment. If you are going to represent somebody in something, let the person write to you, I so appoint so person to be my legal representative, or to represent me or to serve as my agent in transaction. If the person can have a power of attorney to appointing you to do A, B, C, D for the person. So these things, the initiative, the idea behind putting things in writing, we have the statute of fraud, I think is 1877, I can't really remember. This is to prevent fraud. The idea to make documents right is to prevent fraud, from people to commit fraud from each other and all. Because people, you cannot really say this person will keep the person's word. The person is not God. It's only God that cannot go back on his word. So everything has to be in writing. So another thing that we look into when we talk about businesses is protection of intellectual property. Now, intellectual property is a lot of us are creatives. We create a lot of things. I used to appreciate people that have the ability to create. I know one thing I can do is I tend to write. Yeah. So that is the creative, the work of the creation of the mind. Everything that your mind created, but be it music, be it films, be it inventions, be it innovations, be it books, the law protects it under intellectual property. Now, even the mark of your brand, those, let's say the logo of your brand, is protected as trademark. So I don't know if we have seen this scenario where let's say a brand like Adidas. Now Adidas is protected. They are registered. Their trademark is registered and is a world known brand that even if they are not registered in Nigeria, the thing with intellectual property is that it registers you within a jurisdiction. So when you go out of, let's say, Nigeria, and maybe you go to Kenya, I saw someone from Kenya here, and you go to Kenya, you cannot say that you registered your brand in Nigeria, and therefore the registration covers whatever happens in Kenya. So if you want your brand to be registered in Nigeria and other countries, you have to specifically go to those countries and register your trademark, your sign, your logo, your marks. So I was giving an instance of Adidas. Now, I don't know if we have seen all those items that have Adidas, but then the Adidas is not like Adidas, is like Adibas or something like that. Or we have Nike, and then the logo is, instead of it to go, the mark should go left, it goes right, and then they just try to like change things. So these are like intellectual property infringements. So I used to tell people that if you do not protect your intellectual property, you don't know how much you are going to lose, because the intellectual property of a business, let's say the business has an invention, is part of the things that you use to aggregate the assets of the business. When it's, for instance, you want to aggregate what the business owns and what the business is worth, part of the things that people look at or investors look at is the intellectual property, the patents, the innovations. These things, and they are registered, they are part of the things that fund the assets of the business. So apart from differentiating your marks and the works of it, it's something that it protects what you have created. Now, for patents is a part of intellectual property that protects innovation, and copyright protects literary works. So let's say I wrote a book, is protected by copyright. I sang a song, I did a movie. So those are the things that copyright protects. Then we have trademark. Trademark protects your, as I said before, the logo, slogan, marks that has to do with your business. So as a young person, when you're venturing into business, you have to understand that all these things that have to do with my business need to be protected. If I have a logo, I need to trademark that logo. If not, someone else can use that logo and do something. There are a lot of cases that have to do with trademark. And yes, it's a 1 million naira. This once someone takes it to cost and infringement. I know MTN has been caught in that web. I did not bring up that case. We have a case that MTN infringed on intellectual property, and they were giving they were charged. The court held that they are to pay damages of the sum of close to 400 million. I think 200 to 400 million. So it's a recent case, as recent as last year. So this is to show you that intellectual property is not a joke. You can make a lot of money. I don't know if we know this. There's this case that has to do with this plastic bag that we used for election processes. There's this plastic bag that we used to vote, to cast vote, that ballot box. There's like a plastic bag that has that green white. So it's a particular company that invented that, they invented that plastic. It was their idea, and they registered it as a patent. So they have the right over that bag. But the INEC made use of it, and without seeking the consent or getting the license from the company. And INEC paid a lot of money. So you can also check, you can on your free time, you can just browse that particular case. Just try to just say ballot box or ballot bag case. It will come up. So these are big issues. Imagine that company that bag was used without your consent, how much they would have made from just that infringement. So these are things that we need to know. Trademarks, all these registration are done means Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, especially when it has to do with trademarks. So I've covered trademarks. Patents covers protects you for 20 years after the invention. After 20 years, you cannot really benefit from it. It goes into public works that people can use. And so after 20 years, after just 20 years, you have the right to enjoy everything that you have to enjoy solely, exclusively from such innovation. After that, it becomes public works, and other people can now imitate or use it or improve on it. And copyright does not need registration. I keep telling people, you don't need to register your copyrights. You don't need to if you can register trademark, you can register your patent, your innovation as a patent. But when it has to do with copyrights, what if I write a book? It is already registered, like it is already protected. I can sue anybody anywhere in the world for that infringement once that book is in public. So if I write a book and somebody uses that same book and then publishes it and just changes the cover, once I get hold of that book, that person has infringed my copyrights. I don't need to go to Nigeria Copyright Commission to do registration. So once you have done the literary work, it is already registered. You already have copyright over that. So that's the only part of intellectual property work that you do not need to do a formal registration for. I'll just go into social media because it's important that we know what is at stake in the use of social media. Now, in social media, we have things, copyright issues also come in there because people do not understand that creatives, but most Nigerians, creatives put things out on social media, but they don't even know that those things that they are putting out are their copyrights. Yeah. So there's a part of copyright that they call it related rights. It has to do with, or they call it related or neighboring rights. It has to do with performance rights, the right of people that perform. And then it's been argued that content creators also form, or that their rights can other copyrights and performance rights. So once you're putting out content, you should understand that you have rights over such content that you put out on social media. So I'm just trying to tell you the benefits, the rights that you have, and then I will now tell you the possible grounds of infringement that you can expose yourself to by interacting with the social media. Now, with the Cyber Crimes Act, people argue that the Cyber Crimes Act infringes on the freedom of information, that's and freedom of expression. But we know that where your rights stops is where another person's rights starts. So you cannot say you have this right and then you use that right to infringe another person's rights. So that's the idea of cyber crimes. A lot of crime is done on the cyberspace, and then because it's still an evolving aspect for Nigeria, the law keeps evolving and the judges are still trying to balance a lot of things there. But to be specific, we need to understand what it means to cyber stalk and harass. I feel like I'm putting a lot of information out um at once, but I wish I can get some interaction. If I can, in the comment section, you can tell me, okay, I can hear you or something, so that I will know that at least I have people that are following me. Okay, thank you, Miracle. Um, okay, so you said concerning patents, I've heard that it's not really valid as they say it is. Patent is, I don't understand what I mean by valid, but invent something, go and register it as a patent. Let somebody infringe it, go to court, or even you don't even need to go to court. Write the letter to the person and explain. Tell your lawyer to write a letter to the person and explain the person's infringement, and see if the person will not come to meet you to settle the matter. So your patent is actually valid. It's just that we have the patent that it's just in Nigeria that it covers. And then we have the patent that you can decide to do it regionally. There's Africa under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. So you can decide to register it in some jurisdiction. Then you have the patents that you do under internationally, that's under the World Intellectual Property Organization, and then it has global reach. The thing is that it's not really easy, especially when it has to do with Nigeria. A lot of things are the steps, the process, the procedure can be a lot. So that's why sometimes I appreciate even though it's not something to appreciate, but with the system that we have, sometimes I appreciate the Companies and Allied Matters Act that make business registration easier by going digital. But intellectual property registration in Nigeria needs to step up because the process can be a bit cumbersome, especially for young people, small businesses that have not really, they don't really have the finance to do such registration. Yeah. So, but then once you have a patent registered, registration of patents can take as long as 12 months to do. So it has a long period. The period to do registration is can be so the finance and the long period. So that's the only issue that intellectual property has registration has in Nigeria. But apart from that, once you have a patent, it is very valid. It's valid. It's an asset. So if anybody has any question, I'm open to also answering them. So I was talking about cyber stalking. So cyber stalking is basically sending messages or posting content with the intent of bullying somebody. Now we have this case of Adekunle Gold, the recent case of Adekunle Gold and his wife Simi. Somebody put out a post on Twitter, now X, that the daughter died, something of that sort. And of course, it goes to court, and the court actually applies the law. It's a written law. We have some arguments on Twitter say, that they infringed on right of expression, this. So because they have power, so that's why they can go to court. And he was in prison for 2 years. because he actually committed an offense. That's cyberbullying. He was bullying. He was causing annoyance. He was trying to impugn somebody. It's cyber stalking, cyber harassment. So these are the things that we need to know. Putting out content to that are harassing, that are criminal, that has the intent of bullying somebody, stalking somebody online with the intent of making the person feel unsafe. That's cyber stalking and cyberbullying. So these are the things that we have in the Cyber Crimes Act. And as a young person who has an interaction with the social media, it's something that you need to be aware of. And you know, we Nigeria, especially even Africans, we tend to be very expressive. We tend to abuse our rights to freedom of expression. Yes, of course, it's a right guaranteed under the constitution. It's your fundamental human rights to express. But then it's not something that it's not you don't take your right over the board and then hurt somebody else's rights. So that's where the Cyber Crimes Act. When you do this on the cyber crime space, you on the cyberspace, you somebody can actually sue you for infringement of a person's rights, and then you'll go in for it. So we have to be careful, especially the things that we forward and send. When we receive some information and then we forward it, you're actually helping to broadcast it. So you too also are infringing someone else's rights. So those are the things that a young person has to be careful about when it has to do with the cyber space. And then another thing is unauthorized recording of people's message. You start recording somebody, you video somebody can actually bring an action for infringement of privacy. Okay, so we have the data protection act, National Data Protection Act, that governs the protection of data. And we also have the right to privacy under the constitution. So once you do all this recording, the thing with Nigeria is that we have a lot of laws that people infringe every day, but most times people just let it go, but once somebody decides to take out an action against another person for such infringement, that person will be liable. So we need to be careful. We need to be careful what we put out there and then to infringe other people's rights. So okay, talking about labor laws, where should an employee draw the line? What constitutes violation? Okay, so now for unemployment, we have the labor law, and then we have the employment contract. It depends. There are different types of employment in Nigeria. We have the statutory employment, which have a statutory flavor. So those are the ones that don't receive things like federal government job, state government jobs. So those are employments that enjoy statutory flavor. So that's where they say this person has there's this word that they use, this stable employment. The you It's difficult for you to be sacked. You can be sacked, or so that's why most times you see government workers, they are not really afraid. They work freely. They have, like, let me put that peace of mind. And then we now have the private employment, the one where you have an employment contract with somebody, and then the person says, oh, you have infringed, you have gone against the terms of this contract, and then the person fires you. So the thing with this type of employment is that the person can actually, he who hires can fire. So the employment contract protects you because the person cannot fire you, or the person cannot how do I say it? Not, I don't want to use the word fire. The person, you cannot be retrenched uh, just because of any reason, but it has to be, even if you have a particular number of notice a number of at least 1 month's notice before, or you can be asked, can be given query depending on the terms of the contract. But most people don't enter employment and then you don't have an employment contract. So when the person wakes up on the side, either side of the person's bed, the person can wake up and say, "You are fired," and then you are fired. Because the law says, no, not the law, there is a principle in administrative law that says he who hires can fire. So it depends on, so when you're talking about violation, now it depends on the type of employment you have. So for statutory flavor, the employment has to do with your duty, and then there's usually a panel that is set to investigate such breach. Maybe you committed an act of dishonesty, you embezzled particular amounts of fund, you maybe sexual assault against somebody under your employment, and then you have a panel that investigates it, and then the panel will now call you, you come out, you defend yourself, you show cause why so things should not be done against you, and then after the investigation, the panel now decides whether to just suspend you or to maybe just let you go, and then that. So after that, you now decide, you on your own, after hearing the decision of the panel, can say, no, my I was not given the right to fair hearing in this panel. I want to go to court. And that's where the industrial court comes in. You now go to the industrial court and then you seek redress against such the decision of the panel. Or if you were sacked, you have a statutory flavor and then you were sacked without such following such procedure, then you go to the industrial court. So for the private one, it depends. Um, it depends on sorry, Miracle, I'll get your question. Let me finish these points I am putting out now. So for that, the contract, if the person gives you 1 month notice and the person is not owing you salary, for by the terms of the contract, if it spells out, maybe you did, if it's honesty, stealing, and all, and then you committed any of them, and then it can also be that they are letting you go because the company is downsizing, or the company is no longer a going concern, can no longer pay its debts, or can no longer run its business. You can be let go. So those are the so one when an employee violations can actually um employee violations can come in the form of dishonesty, sexual assault, um depending on the terms of the contract of employment. I cannot see Miracle's question. I would love to. I don't know if I can get that question again. Okay, on cyberbullying, can I get sued for insulting someone on social media? I've seen people enter an argument and insults happens on both sides, and one person decides to sue. Okay, so now insulting somebody on social media, it depends. In the African term, we know what insult can be. You can call somebody stupid, or you can tell the person you're mad. So even before the cyberspace, there is a tort law. There is a law. There is an aspect, a liability, a criminal liability in torts that has to do with defamation. Now, defamation now is when I say something against maybe Mr. Emeka that is untrue. It is untrue, and not just is it untrue, I went to publicize it, and after publicizing it, it now caused damage on him and reduces his person or his standing before the general public. So that's defamation. So the thing also applies to cyberbullying. Now, normally you can insult somebody, but the insult does not have to do with the person's person. Let's say, let's use this instance of Adekunle Gold. You cannot come and spread something false about somebody, and then that thing hurts that person and then reduces the person's standing in the society, and then you now say because the person was insulting you back, we were insulting each other. It does not, it cannot fly. So what do you term as insults? What are the boundaries that you cannot pass? Don't say something that is untrue, that affects the person and then imputes, which is put in the public space, in the cyberspace, and then reduces the person's standing. I know the one thing about the social media, especially the Twitter and X, is that once somebody puts out an idea, people take it and run along with it. It's easy to take and run along with. So I remember when the whole saga was happening, a lot of people were putting out information. Oh, they have divorced. Hey, he has left. Oh, the child has died. So those things are those that's actually cyber bullying. But what if it's a normal insult? It cannot, you are insulting each other. It's not. But once it's a false information that goes against the person, that it reduces the person, that hurts the person's his person, and a reasonable man looks at it and says, yes, this thing. Most times there's this standard that we use in law, the standard of a reasonable man. So what will a reasonable man in this balance see this information and think? That is where you draw the line from cyberbullying and just insulting somebody. So I don't know if we have any other question, those we have online that have any other question that they will, or any other aspects they want me to clarify. So as I said before, it's something that you actually don't need a lawyer. Everybody needs to get a lawyer. For every, as I, if I have to do like a rundown of everything I've said, the summary is that for every single transaction, for every single business that you're doing, for every single thing, everything that has to do with business registration, contents of business, you need a lawyer. And it's better to, instead of you to, especially when you have been infringed, your rights have been infringed upon, instead of you to write or go on your own, it has more force of law when you go to you write in from a lawyer. So please speak to driving without a license. Okay, so for license, I think the thing with our roads is that we do not have, there's just a lot going on there, that most of these our security agencies, most of the security agencies tend to have exceed their function, and then they go into the function of a different agency. So now, when it has to do with licensing, roadworthiness of vehicle, whether a car has or that, we all know that it's the Federal Road Safety Commission that does that, that checks that. And then, but then we see the police doing that. Now, the police now, they tend to, what the function of the police is basically to make sure that there is internal security. That's to make sure that, especially it has to do with inside Nigeria's, now where we have the army. Army is external aggression. So internal peace and security has to do with an agency like the police. Now, we see the police checking licenses and all, but then what they say is that they have to know if you are the owner of the vehicle that you're driving, to know whether the vehicle is stolen. So, but then in Nigeria, you cannot drive. You have to have your license to drive. It's a clear law. But then once which is, you have to renew your license once it expires. So once you have your license and then it's still running, nobody should be able to hold it. Especially, okay, I think there are other documentations that have to do with the vehicle. But then I know that once you have just maybe you're done with your driving school, or there's this pass that you are given, which you can also make use of pending when you get your license. So that one can also work. So I feel Nigerians should understand that you need to get your license. You need to. The thing is once you drive without license and you are being caught, any penalty you're giving, you are bound to pay that penalty because you went against the law. What should one do if arrested for no reason? Okay. The thing, our system is so bad that getting this kind of question should be something that tickles the ear, but because we are in a system that it's just terrible. You're saying arrested for no reason. I know of a friend whose brother was arrested when we had issues of unknown gunmen in Olu. The young man just came out from the hospital and he went to the hospital, was ill, and he came out of the hospital and unluckily for him, he was just gathered with some other young men and he was labeled an unknown gunman. And he just did not understand. He just came out of the hospital. And this is how this young man stayed in detention for almost 2 years. And the thing with this is that you have to prove your innocence. The police leaves you, they don't even go as far as trying to investigate or checking if, oh, is this person part of it. They don't try. They just pause, and before you prove your innocence, time has gone. Before you're even discharged and acquitted, you might spend 5 years in detention. So what should you do when you're arrested for no reason? The first thing you have to do is to get a lawyer. You need to get a lawyer. It's the lawyer that have a way of interacting with the police and pushing your matter. I know what that my friend had to interact with the Attorney General, get a lawyer who goes to the Attorney General, and then that's how he was gotten out. But he had already spent 2 years there. So the first thing you have to do is get a lawyer. And then the police doesn't have the right to keep you in detention for more than, at least you should not be in prison for more than 48 hours. You need to be charged to court. And your charge, what you are arrested for, your charge should be read to you, and you have to plead to the charge, whether it's guilty or not guilty. So, but what they normally do, what the police usually do is that they get a warrant and order from court to keep you. So once that one expired, they'll go and get another one to keep you. And that, they've kept you for 2 weeks. So the system is broken. But what I tell people, once you're arrested for no reason, the first thing you have to do is to get a lawyer. I don't know if we have any other question.
All right, Barrister Amaka, thank you. Okay, thank you so very much for that one. I mean, we can always go on and on. So I've dropped your LinkedIn handle on the chat. So I do hope that anybody who has further questions can always get across to you, because the truth is that we can't exhaust this conversation in one sitting.
Yeah, it's broad.
It's a very broad one. So it all boils down to what you keep saying: get a lawyer. You need a lawyer so that you know where to draw the line, because there are so many things that happens in this country and people are intimidated just because they don't know what is their right and what is not their right, and they need a lawyer. I too need a lawyer, and I have you as a lawyer. So I think we're going to begin to draw the curtain now.
Pay your lawyer too.
Those who are going to watch. Oh yeah. I mean, at the very outset, it was pro bono, but a day will come when we're able to. Yes.
Yeah.
So, thank you so very much for the pro bono knowledge you share with us here on this call today. So we do hope that the persons who are going to watch afterwards are going to get a lot of value, and we want to keep this information going. So I will share your LinkedIn handle or any handle you prefer with our viewers after now, and I do hope that they too will know what an intelligent lawyer you are, and of course, always defer to having you around. So thank you very much, Barrister Chiamaka
Thank you.
Obineze.
Thank you
For
for
this
having
wonderful
me.
one today. We are so grateful. So we're gonna keep the conversation going after here. So thank you very much, Barrister, for being here. That's so much for free. So we'll keep it on after now. Thank you, ma, and do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right. All right, friends. So with this, we just want to thank everybody who watched today, who watched the event, I mean the webinar live, and those who are going to watch later. So we do hope that you got a lot of value from the sharing this afternoon. And this is Future Proof Mentorship Initiative monthly webinar. So this month we brought you the law and you. In case you have further questions bordering on the law, you have somebody who needs a legal counselor, Barrister Chamaka Obineze is a person for you. So you can always, as her name appears on this page, you can check her out on social media. You can always reach out to Future Proof Mentorship Initiative, and they will help you connect back to her. Once again, this is Future Proof Mentorship Initiative, and here our byline, our goal is to democratize opportunity among young people who need the opportunities most. So you can always join our community. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us across social media platforms for further engagement and further opportunities. So thank you for catching up, and we also like to have your thoughts on the comment. For those of you who watch on Facebook, thank you for watching. Those of you on LinkedIn, thank you for watching. And those of you who watched on YouTube, thank you for watching. So in case you're watching after now on any of these channels, please do well to drop your thoughts, your comment, and they'll help us get better. So with that, I say enjoy the rest